I am not as diehard of a Browns fan as DeQuell Jackson.
By the way,
hold on.
Okay.
Wait till you see what the Browns have done to DeQuell this year. Let's bring DeQuell in here, and he's looking rough. DeQuell,
oh no,
how you doing, man?
Oh, he's aging like a president.
Get out of here. An old white guy now. Oh my God! Hey, there he is.
That was well done. The special
This is
effects.
what the Browns have done to me. You know, if they continue to play as poorly as they have, I'm going to look like this ugly guy over here. So, oh my God, it's rough. It's rough right now for me.
Yeah, looks like all of our souls right now.
Yes,
So DeQuell,
yes.
apparently you were watching, or you watched back, I'm not sure, when I was arguing with J and G, and I was going nuts, and Jay was going nuts, and you wanted to jump in on this. Whose side are you on this?
So I was actually on J's and G's side on this. I'm not going to lie.
I'm disappointed.
Because here's the thing.
Yeah.
In no world can you run the ball 100% of the time on first down. But in the NFL, running the ball more than 70% on first down, it actually happens. And at the time I was watching the Atlanta and the Bengals game last week.
Right.
And they pulled up a stat during the middle of the game, and it said they listed the top 4 teams that ran the ball more than anyone else. And what popped up in the bottom of the screen, it was that Atlanta ran the ball 70% of the time or more on first down. That's a dead giveaway. So that's all I'm saying. That was the side I was taking in terms of the Browns with Jacoby Brissett not playing well in situational football. Put the ball in your best player's hand. That's the only part of the argument I want to interject myself. But I enjoyed you guys going back and forth. It was very entertaining.
But Jay was saying Jay was literally saying run the ball on first down every time, which makes no sense. You can't do that.
Well, some team I played against teams who that was their DNA. Listen, 70-30, that percentage, they're going to run the ball. The only reason they don't run the ball because they don't want to be extremely predictable. They don't want you to put 11 guys in the box. But that's that's damn near 100% in the NFL. You won't find any other stat that says this team does X 70% or more of the time. So that's all I wanted to interject. But I was more so I called McNuggets afterwards. I was very entertained for those 10 minutes I joined in. And I never seen G. I can see the horns growing smoke steaming from G's head, and I thought that was very entertaining because I had never seen this guy get mad like that. It was very entertaining.
DeQuell, I had to go home and do some research. See, I get fired up. I get fired up after a Didi comes on, right? Because when the Didi comes on, she could always lean back on the Steelers. Like, the Steelers and Mike Tomlin, how they get down and what they do. And then Bull, he like, we got Jamar Chase and T. Higgins and them.
That's his team.
That's it. Yeah, and they talk about how they get down. And then I'm looking over at the Ravens, and that used to be the Browns. And people always talk about how Baltimore is never out of it in Lamar Jackson. And then I'm just sitting here with my team, and I'm sitting with this bag of tricks, this bag of oatmeal cookies on Halloween. Everybody else that went door to door got the big candy bars, the Reese's,
Snickers,
the Baby Ruths, the Snickers.
You got the pencils and apples.
And they gave me good fruit and candy corn. I'm like, you gonna give me an apple and a banana? I was tired of it. I said, I'm tired of it, bro. I said, listen, I ain't got much, but I'm gonna utilize what I got to the nth degree. I'm gonna go out swinging with my best punch. I'm not gonna be jabbing. I'm coming with what I got. That's all I got right now. And then I was hot too. I'm like,
but in the end, my point was, we could argue use Nick Chubb a little more. Fine, we could argue that, but don't make it seem, as Jay often does, in my opinion, that they're not using Nick Chubb at all. That's silly. He's third in carries. He's second and fourth quarter carries. The Browns have more running back carries than any team in the league. They run the ball on first down more than any team in the league. We could, would you like it a little more? Fine, but let's not make it seem like they don't run at all. I mean, they're using their weapons.
Both of you guys' point of view was right. Yeah. I think we were missing that. The defense has played so poorly.
Yes. Yep.
Listen, we can't pile up. We're over scrutinizing what the offense have done. They've been pretty productive.
Yes.
They've kept us in ball games. Without their play, we don't even have this conversation. We're saying the Browns absolutely are terrible. They suck. Let's move. Let's wait for Deshaun Watson to come back. But we overlooked all the mistakes and inconsistency from this defense that.
Oh, we lost DeQuell. Yeah, I mean, that's the truth, guys. We're nitpicking the offense and having these debates because the defense sucks. We've said a few times, if Deshaun Watson were here, they'd probably be 5-2, right?
Right.
If the defense, and I think I said this yesterday, if the defense had played even close to what we thought they'd be coming into the season,
I just said average.
they'd be 5-2. The offense could be exactly the same, no difference. If the defense had played even close to what we were expecting, they'd have 4 or 5 wins right now.
I don't think you're mistaken. I think the defense is what has been the troublesome thing. Because we knew what we had with Brissett, right? We kind of knew that with a backup guy playing at the quarterback position, we didn't know how that was going to go. And they actually have performed fairly well, right? Fairly well. The defense on the other side has just not really performed to the level that we thought that they were going to do. Obviously, I'm thinking here that I was sold a bill of goods, right? Because,
you were.
Because I'm looking at these guys, I'm like, that's not those guys. You told me this guy was this, and this guy was this, and this guy was this.
Andrew Berry.
And I was like, wait a minute here, hold on.
I like
Who is doing the scouting over here? Who is doing the day-to-days, the research here? Because
it's fair.
You're looking like you're a ranked amateur here, right? Because I'm looking at these other teams I watch on Sunday, right? And on Monday, on Thursday night, right? I see it. And I'm like, they finding diamonds like I won't even say Marshall and places, Central Florida and Savannah State. And I'm like, where are those guys
They
at?
finding diamonds like in Sierra Leone.
It's fair to ask, when it comes to the defense, is it Andrew Berry or is it Joe Woods? Who's to blame?
Well,
is it the talent or is it the development of the talent?
Let me ask you this. Who is the director of scouting here?
I don't even know.
I don't know. But
I'll look him up.
But Andrew Berry had to sign off on it.
Yeah, he's making the picks.
Remember they asked us yesterday, they said, do you think everybody comes back on this team? And you know me, I've been on Joe Woods' back since day one. 2019, I've been on Joe Woods. But then I had to sit back and think about it, though, Bull. If I'm Joe Woods, I say this. Well, let me talk to you, Andrew Berry, when we having our little powwow. Well, look, you didn't let me get no D tackles. You got me with Jordan Elliott. You got me, which is the worst defensive tackle starting. You got Taven Bryan for me, who was a bust in Jacksonville. And if Jacksonville don't sign you, mean you definitely ain't no good.
Plus, what's his name? Because they drafted from Ohio State.
You drafted Tommy Togiai.
The only bad player from Ohio State.
Stop it. I'll stop it, all right?
And Perrion Winfrey.
Calm down. Just calm down.
And then you got Perrion Winfrey, who ain't done nothing. So then you could go to the middle. They said, well, look, you had us with Anthony Walker, but you sold us on Phillips. You sold, and he was one of the worst linebackers. You love JOK. But he can't be in his right gap.
Where's Mac Wilson at?
Mac Wilson, you traded. Now, so you like, well, dang, he's looking good. And then you go, it's just like in baseball. You got your catcher, your pitcher, your middle infield, and your center fielder, right? That's the middle of your defense. Now let's get back to the two safeties. I don't know which one is worse. John Johnson, who you gave top safety money to, that you brought over. Yeah. You got Troy Hill. Troy Hill got here. He was so bad, you had to send him back. And then you got Grant Delpit, who you drafted the second round.
He's going to be good one day.
Let me ask you this. There are 5 players on the, yes, defensive tackle, clearly it seems like they got it wrong. They addressed the position, they addressed it wrong, right? It doesn't seem like they have talent there.
None.
Okay? Anthony Walker got hurt. There's nothing you could do there. Most teams don't have great backup linebackers. Okay,
in their defense, he was good.
And he was playing pretty well, especially when everyone paying attention.
Yep.
But and Clowney and Garrett, they're doing their job. Okay.
Yes.
But you have 5 players on the Browns defense that we thought were really good. That at times, especially one guy, the first guy I'm going to mention, has been excellent and have been bad this year. Yep. Denzel Ward, number 1.
Yep.
The 2 safeties that you mentioned, JOK, and Greg Newsome. Those 5 guys have all been disappointing this year. So I guess the question is, especially with the other 4 who have never done it for more than 1 year.
One pass defended.
Yeah.
One?
One.
All you got to do
Are
is
these
break
guys
some.
Overrated? Did Joe? How come they play all those guys? Johnson and Delpit haven't played well ever.
Let me
but Newsome and Ward played great last
How'd they
year.
take a step back?
Let me say this.
So is it talent or coaching?
Delpit, when he was at LSU, was lights out.
He was cold.
He was lights out.
So is it coaching
So
then?
my thing is this. what scheme? Because sometimes you can take a player and put them in a system, and the system will make you look like a sucker.
Maurice
right?
Claret said it just yesterday.
Make you look like a sucker.
You can give another coach the same players, and they'll look like stars.
Remember, we used to have Jabril Peppers playing 7,000 yards.
But the question is, Joe Woods was here last year. How did these guys take a step backwards?
Well,
the safeties didn't. It's the corners.
Corners.
The corners and JOK are the really shocking ones. Because those three guys played well last year.
JOK problem is this. I think Ty was talking about the other day.
Yeah.
Because they don't have the interior guys sucking up the energy, right? It puts JOK in a bad position because he's a lightweight linebacker.
Then figure out a better way to use him.
But this is why I keep going back to the talent evaluation, right? Now, I thought I had these guys. Well, after a couple games, I see they're not these guys. I now have to fill this void
have to
here.
pivot.
Right? Quit telling me how great these dudes are. I'm telling you how live they are because they're not. I asked you about the director of scouting, right?
Yeah.
Because Andrew Berry's not going out to all these sites looking at these players. The director of scouting come in and say, hey, let me sit down. These are the people I see. He's got to sell Andrew Berry on these guys.
Right.
I'm like, who is this dude? And who is his minions?
But guys, and I believe, in my opinion, outside of defensive tackle, I believe the problem is coaching and player development and not talent. I think they have talent in the secondary. And I think JOK is talented, but you have to use. He's a unique player at linebacker. You've got to use him properly.
Be clear.
Yeah.
You heard it from me. Ain't nobody getting developed here.
Oh,
you can see it. Nobody getting developed.
They're regressing. If anything, they're regressing.
You come here, you regress.
Like I've never.
Regress when you come here.
And this is the thing that's been happening for a long time. I don't know. You can't name me one player that gets here. He has a lot of raw materials. And they polish him up, and they progressively get him better.
Are you talking both sides of the ball?
I'm talking about ever. I can't think of a guy. See, I can't think of a guy.
Don't say ever.
Well, I'm since '99. I literally went through this.
Say since '99.
I don't totally agree with that.
I'm trying to find a player.
It's taken a while, but David Njoku this year was looking like
you can't
he's come a long way.
And I know.
I think Donovan Peoples-Jones was a 6th-round pick. He's become a solid NFL wide receiver.
And we just assumed that Nick Chubb was a finished product when he got here, but maybe he wasn't. Maybe he was in a different place.
The Bills, a smart team, gave away Wyatt Teller for nothing.
Offensive line. Our offensive line.
Every person you can name that you say is making an ascension.
Right.
Yeah.
Let's name the ones that are making a decline.
And
but I got nobody on offense.
These are the offense. Here's the thing: you got Bill Callahan on offense. Bill Callahan.
That's just the line.
We're agreeing.
Listen, the line. When you talk about the line, they get guys off the street and do well.
They said OBJ was dead in the water here.
I never understood it.
Dead in the water here.
I never understood it.
He had regressed so far, he looked like a clown.
And that's why people was mad.
Then he went to L.A., and then I was like, I kept telling you, I said, he caught another touchdown.
Right.
He caught another touchdown.
Well,
and I do not want that to happen with Kareem Hunt. Because he's going to go to a good team, and he's going to look like a man.
Kareem Hunt's played well here. He's just not going to get used as much here because you got Nick Chubb.
Right. He's got the best running back in the league.
Nobody sees a problem with a talented guy not being used here when we're struggling.
I would agree that he should be used more. But he's never going to be used as much here as he would be on a team that doesn't have a Nick Chubb.
Here, what I tell you is this. Your team is sucking. It's struggling. You better find the diamonds that you have, and you better find a way to deploy them.
Right, but that wasn't the question. Was who's been developed? I don't believe outside of maybe Odell, and I don't even completely buy that because I think he was part of his own problem, and he's never healthy. Again, he's hurt this whole year. I don't see in the last couple of years a ton of offensive players that have gone the wrong direction.
You could say they have trouble at quarterback, I think, over time.
Yeah,
I mean, they can't develop quarterbacks.
No, but it's not like Baker Mayfield went somewhere and he was even worse in Carolina. He's benched for P.J. Walker
But you're answering your own question, though.
Or did they devalue him by not developing him? You see what I'm saying? There's a difference here. I come from a university, Bull.
Yeah.
Their slogan is this. Ohio State football slogan is developed here. That's what they put forever. Developed here. Now you come here, ain't nobody getting developed over there on that lakefront.
That's not a fair
comparison. Yes, it is.
They're developed.
Ohio State's getting the best talent.
Yeah, they're developed at the best high schools in America, and then they come to Ohio State.
Let me tell you something. You can come from wherever. You still got to get developed right there. Right?
Okay, but why do they get picked to go to Ohio State?
It don't matter.
High school
but
coach
Ohio State
developed
gets
them
the
well.
best players, Brad. The Browns can't always get the best players.
That just recently occurred, right? Now we seem like we're getting the best of the best.
Yeah.
Why? Because they're developing these players. There's a pipeline to this league. Here.
So let me give you this, and I don't want to spend too much time on it, but what I mean by development, development and scheme go hand in hand. There's two things that I would have immediately done when they would have got here. I love when coaches create a position for a player specifically for him. JOK would have already been switched to what we call a bandit role. A bandit is a guy who generally speaking, is a smaller linebacker that is between a linebacker and a safety. He has different rules, he has different responsibilities, and his job is to run sideline to sideline. Kareem Hunt's position should have already been changed. In this offense, there should have been a position. You like tight ends? He should have already had a position for him where Kareem Hunt is.
Because these are unique talents that need to be be as unique talents.
He's on the field every single time between fullback, tight end, or H-back.
But you only do that when you recognize what you have in the box.
Yes.
And stop telling me this is my system, not my system. This is what I have. I'm going to deploy what I have and make it work for me.
Let's bring DeQuell back in, guys. We got DeQuell back. There he is.
There you go.
What's up, fellas?
What's going on?
The old guy.
In the DMV, baby? The internet not working?
Listen, the old guy was bad juju, man. He filled the pain of the Browns.
Oh, yeah.
You don't want me to be great.
Yeah.
That's because you starved him to death. You never fed him, DeQuell. And that's why you starved him to death.
We was just talking about it just now. We was talking about, it's a difference between development and the difference between what schemes you're running to make the development. I said myself, I would have created a role for JOK where he's a bandit, a hybrid type guy who has different rules. I would have trained, if I know I don't have receivers, Kareem Hunt would have been a position where he's on the field every play with Nick Chubb because I can put him at tight end. I could put him at fullback, I could split him out, and I could get a playmaker that could do everything on the field, but sometimes you got to create it. My thing is, JOK, they love this skill set, but you have to do something to augment and to enhance that skill set so that he can really show what he does.
You know what? I went back and watched a ton of film on their season this year, and particularly on the defense. And one thing that jumps out to me, fellas, there is no development. In terms of a linebacker play, you don't see the development from game to game if you clearly understand what JOK can bring to a defense if he's coached up. It seems like he's not being coached up properly on fundamentals of things, and he's playing the game as if he was back in college someplace, and he's not reading keys properly. I mean, this is not just him. He's the guy that stands out the most, in my opinion, because when he makes his mind up, he's like a bullet. So he shows up more, but all those guys don't seem to be on the same wavelength. It's like they don't know what they're doing. They're playing unsure of themselves, and that goes to coaching. That goes to development, and I don't see it right now, fellas. And that's why the defense plays as poorly as they have been in late in the game in those situations, because that's when you rely on your fundamentals, your technique, your prep study, all those other different things come to play, and that's their biggest flaw right now. Not only from the linebacker position, but on every level of the defense. Now, offensively, they've sputtered the last few weeks. I get it. You put the ball in Jacoby Brissett's hand, throw the ball 45 times. That is not what he does. But from a coaching standpoint, you have to be able to identify, okay, this is my hand. If I got a bad hand, a tunk, damn it, I'm going to try to make the best out of it. And it seems as though they're not really making wholesale changes to get the attention of the other guys not playing well enough. I think right now, you need to start doing those things right now, or those guys are going to play, even though 11 are going to trot out there, but, individually, as this thing gets out of hand and they have more, the more losses start piling up, those guys are going to go out there and start checking gangster. That's what I like to call it. Start doing their own things. And that's when the ship sails at that point.
DeQuell, when it comes to the defense, because obviously, for all that, we lost you as we were getting into, like, everybody's nitpicking on the offense. Ultimately, if the defense had played to what we thought they would, the team would be 5-2, right? The team would be a lot better. But
I
when you
definitely
look at the defense, obviously their ends are great. They're doing their job. The tackles, they don't have really talent at defensive tackle. You lose Anthony Walker injury. But you mentioned JOK, and I would say the entire secondary outside of the rookie Martin Emerson has been a disappointment. But those guys, I think, are really talented. So is it on coaching and development, or are those some of those guys, maybe Delpit, maybe Johnson, maybe even JOK, are they not as talented as we think they are? Or are they actually talented and not being developed properly?
That's a great question. I think they are talented. I think they're above average when you look on paper, what those guys can do and what they have done and the potential of them to do what we think they can do if they're coached well. I think it boils down to that leadership piece in every room is so undervalued and not appreciated. If you had a guy in that secondary who understood why it's important to listen to the coach and listen to the technique and do all these small little things, because it's going to lead to bigger gains, to bigger results when you play Monday night, when you play Thursday night, when you play on Sunday. I think that is I feel like front office are realizing, you know what, we got a lot of young guys, a lot of inexperienced guys. We need a guy in every level from the D-line, linebacker, and secondary to teach these guys how to work. Because I remember being that young, inexperienced guy, and I remember leaning heavily on Willie McGinnis, how to play the position. And if I didn't have that tutelage, I would have been out here running wild and didn't understand what gap, integrity meant in terms of run fits from a D-line and linebacker standpoint and how to communicate. I wouldn't know how to do those things unless I had a good example in front of me. And I think, something has to, and coaching plays a part in it, but I think when it boils down to it, in game, live action, those guys don't know who to lean on because everyone is making similar mistakes and they don't have a guy to lead the ship.
DeQuill, let me throw this at you, right? Because you make a very good point here, right? Because I think that as I reassess it, because I've been kind of hard on myself, but as I reassess it, they got some talent. But coaching in any league can make you look like a sucker if you're not in the right position here. If they don't put you in a position to be successful. One of my issues I have, and I want to know your take on this. It seems to me that the Browns have difficulty assessing what their strengths are and recognize that they're my strong suits. So this is what I have to use. They seem to be pre-programmed. I have to do A, B, C. Well, I have to do A, B, C because that's all they know is A, B, C. Well, we're gonna play this one G-H-I, right? We're gonna play this all the way down, right? We're gonna do it a little bit. We're gonna mix up the alphabet a little bit here, right? And I'm doing that because my personnel tell me to do it that way, right? In this case here, they seem to be stuck on stupid here, right? We watching the same thing every week, and every week. So tell me what you think about this, because I'm like, this is getting redundant and ridiculous.
Yeah, you're seeing the same calls, the same way guys. You're exactly right, Brad. At this point, what do you have to lose?
Nothing.
And I think a lot of no matter how the great coaches in this league are able to adapt in real time. Whatever your plan was, we do it when you scout. You have a plan, you go into the game and you get behind, and now you got to scrap your game plan, and now you have to figure out in real time, how do I attack this defense? How do I play better defense, and et cetera? I think this is the culture of the NFL. Guys go from place to place and to run their system. I've had coaches before. It's like, listen, man, we have guys playing out of position, and you know it as players. Players know it. And when nothing is changing, you know what happens? And you know this, Brad, you start to lose faith in your coach.
Yes, you do.
And you start to go out there and just play reckless, play wild, and it becomes an individual game as opposed to a team game. And you start losing guys. You start losing the attention of them. And you're right. The Browns in my opinion, this team is one of the biggest disappointments of the league right now. And if they don't get it together, you thought without Deshaun Watson, with Jacoby Brissett managing this football team, the Browns defense will be comparable, competitive, and these guys will level up in terms of, expectation. And right now, you listen to all the other networks talk about the Browns, they're talking about these guys as the same old Browns, and they're giving them every reason to, because your record reflects who you are and how poorly you're playing right now.
DeQuell, I look at it. And I think the problem with coaches is sometimes now with new age coaches and the younger coaches, and this is in general, I think that when you look at social media and the way that you text message people, we do everything over Zoom, you know what I'm saying? The interactions is less and less between people, right? And the thing that I think coaches never take advantage of is truly developing relationships with the people. And once you build those relationships and you have communication where now the coaches feel like they know a person and a player, besides the X's and O's, they know who he is, they know what motivating factors you have. I think sometimes, and I know there's a big catchphrase in talking about analytics, but my thing is you have to be able to motivate people. I don't see the Cleveland Browns as a motivated team. Like I don't see you got to invoke some sort of passion, some sort of pride, some sort of anything in a person. And when you see this, I don't see the Cleveland Browns as a team that is going to say, we're going to go out here and play hard. We not about to let this happen. We're going to play for each other. We're going to make sure it's a standard that we got no matter what the coaches got going. And for me, I don't know if that's something that Kevin Stefanski can instill, but I think it's a part of the coaching staff that's missing. I believe you could do analytics. You could be even keel on one side of the ball, but you have to have a yin and a yang for everything. You have to also have people that think that way, that are going to go say, I need to be a disruptor. Do you think that they need one of those type of people, whether it's a special teams offense or defense?
Well, that's what happens when you're losing games that you're supposed to win. You know, this team could easily be 5-3. They could easily be. The way we're talking about the Browns could be on the opposite spectrum right here, but that's what 3 and 5 teams go through. They have to battle that internal motivation, playing inspired football, because a lot of guys need, you know, a guy to kind of light some fire up under their butt, you know, and you need a guy that can stand in front of grown men and motivate them no matter what the record is, no matter what the day looks like, no matter if you think you're an underdog and you're last in the division. So you really need a guy. You're really going to see, you know, how this season unfolds, what imprint can Kevin Stefanski put on this football team to have them play inspired football. Listen, I'm still inspired, but I think they go out and compete. It's the critical moments of the game is when they lose football games, the last 2 minutes before the half, the last 2 minutes to end the game. There's either a turnover offensively or a mental breakdown defensively where you're giving up big plays. And that's where you figure, you know what? Either the guys aren't paying attention to detail or it's talent level, which we all could agree is not the talent level. It's them having someone they can trust in real time, a leader back there that can be the quarterback of the defense, coaching, all these other things play a part. And I think Kevin Stefanski's really got a tall task ahead of him, because he's really got to, you know, these guys are playing on Monday night. And I don't care what your record is. Monday night is like a Super Bowl every time you get a chance to play on Monday night. So we're going to see an inspired football team. We're going to see a team compete like crazy, because now everyone's watching you and everyone's going to know, he's not playing so well. The JOKs, I'm sure he'll play better, but there's going to be a level, a sense of urgency in terms of this is a chance we can turn our season around. That's the message in the locker room right now. I'm sure Kevin Stefanski and every coaching staff in that building is coaching. We can turn our season around if we get a divisional win against a team that's playing really well. The best players out, you know, and listen, quite frankly, this is going to be a tough task for the Browns, because the Bengals defense hasn't given up a second half touchdown in 8 weeks, which is unheard of.
That's scary.
So it's very scary. It's very scary. And I don't see the Browns fixing all their issues in 1 week. So all we can do is hope for the best, and hopefully I don't turn out like this ugly guy sitting next to me over here.
Well, you've been in locker rooms in the past at a point in a season where kind of the vibe changed and the whole team realized that this is probably a lost year. And that's not, I'm assuming, a very good feeling. Can you imagine if we lose this game on Monday, we're 2-6. What is the vibe going to be like in that locker room moving forward with these young guys, where you said the psychology of this is so important? I mean, this could really make a difference as far as how this team continues to develop or goes in the wrong direction, couldn't it?
Yeah, it's scary because you got a lot of young guys who come from big programs, are used to winning and not used to dealing with the fan base like the Cleveland Browns are, how they're diehard fans. They're going to love you one minute, boo you the next minute, if you play poorly, and rightfully so. But in that locker room, the psyche of guys, that's where, you really lean on the Myles Garrett. The guys who are mentally mature enough to deal with it, they're going to go out and continue to make plays. So that's one instance you can identify. And I'm thinking Myles Garrett will be that guy, will be that example for the other guys. Listen, no matter what the record is, we still have a job to do. I want to play for my brother. I want to play for my city. I want to play for whatever reasons you can come up with to play for. And you know what I used to do, Mikey? Around this time, if I were in that locker room, if I realized we were out of playoff contention, that's when I started making my off-season plans. Yeah. I start, preparing, a great trip so I can motivate myself to get through these tough times because it's hard, man. Mm-hmm. It's hard. Throughout the week, you're putting in all this extra time lifting and film study, and you have this little voice in your head telling you, why are you doing this? You're not winning, you're not playing for anything, and it falls on coaching, leadership. Can they be the same guy? Can you motivate? Can you inspire? So there's going to be a lot of domino effects in these next few weeks of how these guys respond and how well they go out and play, how hard they play. Mm-hmm. Because, the things that are happening, the mistakes this team is going, the mistakes that happened on Sundays that we've identified were the same mistakes were happening early in the season. And that, to me, falls on coaching.
By the way, you think fans are angry now. What if the Browns lose to the Bengals on Monday and then the Bengals sign Odell Beckham on Tuesday?
Oh, that would not be ideal. That would not be ideal.
G can't even. He just got so angry thinking about that.
You just made his day.
I was so angry. I went back. So I have a subscription, right, for NFL Plus. I went back and watched games that I played in 2009 and 2012. I was like, wait a minute. Maybe I'm being overly critical of this defense and the linebackers and just the inconsistency. And I tell you what, no, I was spot on. These guys are all they're all over the place. And I don't know how you fix it. Do you score a ton of points?
DeQuil Jackson. Please, Browns, hire DeQuil Jackson. Please hire DeQuil.
Would you ever coach?
No.
You don't have any interest in coaching, right?
I mean, I'll never say never, but, you get a good group. Here's the thing. Well, I want to go home. And some of these guys don't go home. They sleep in their office.
No,
they're crazy. Yeah. They're nuts. And I love
you
football.
Got a good life.
No, you should be a consultant. Though.
You got a good life. You're good at media. Yeah, you don't.
I would love to be in some sort of consultant.
Yes, that's what we need to do. Come in, pump everybody up.
Yeah, here's the thing. I actually reached out years ago to my agent. I'm like, hey, do NFL teams hire former players to teach? If they have a young crew, a young room. Do they consult with older guys who they trust, who were pros when they played, to come in and teach these guys how to watch film, what to look out for, just to give them a different voice? And, I was trying to do something with the Washington Commanders years ago, and they you run into that gray area where they don't want a former player having more control over the room than the coach.
Exactly.
So
that's
stupid. That's stupid that they don't do that. That would be great. You'd be great at that. But